I speak to both my parents. I had a little bit of time without either of them in different periods of my life where, a couple of years with my dad and sort of 6 months with my mum, where I just needed to cut them out, needed to do the work myself and just figure things
Yeah.
out. Sort of last year, I reshaped my relationship with my mum. I took 6 months off contact, and that was massively helpful because I just needed. She's not very good at respecting space. She has quite a few sort of narcissistic tendencies. So
Mm,
I just needed to really put into place, this is where I'm at. I need you to listen. And if you're not going to be able to do that, then I need to take a break until you do listen.
yeah.
But no, it's weird. I don't necessarily consider them as parents. I consider them as friends. And I think that works a lot better for me in being able to relate to them, because I'm a lot better at putting boundaries in and saying, that's not your place. I'm an adult, you did. And they've both got a lot of things that I will always, my relationship with both of them, trust-wise, is never going to be the same. And I guess that's always going to be there. There's nothing that's going to make that go away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm friends with them now, and we meet up and communicate. I have a really good relationship with my dad. Actually, he's sort of my best friend now, despite being quite a volatile parent.
Mm,
During the early years, quite violent and unsure of himself, and I never really knew where I stood. But he's gone through a lot of healing from his stuff, and we can now communicate really openly, and I literally just say it how it is and tell him, no, you can't say that in front of me, or no, don't tell me what to do, etc., in a
yeah.
non-conflicty way, which is nice.
No, that's beautiful. Especially, I like the fact you said my dad's been working on himself, because we don't often do that, especially the men. We don't often take the time to do that work. And I'm glad, only because I know sometimes, to your point, sometimes we don't come back from these things. Like I like to make the point that nobody, and this is for families, nobody's entitled to a relationship. You got to earn it.
Yeah.
You got to work at it. And that's children to parents, parents to children, romantic partners, friendships, everybody in between. If you want somebody to feel valued and appreciated, we have to put in the effort to make sure that they feel that way. And hopefully that we're picking people in terms of friendships and romantic relationships that mirror back those emotions. The tricky part is with family, because you were born into them. So you don't necessarily choose them, right? You have to learn to navigate how they naturally operate. And we're hoping that the more that I share, the more that I am open and transparent with you, that you will also learn to manage how you interact with me, how you engage with me, how you treat me, to make me feel valued and appreciated and loved, hopefully.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always happen as we're young. And sometimes, even as we get older, it still doesn't click, because they might not be willing to accept what happened, their role in things, how they can improve in terms of strengthening our relationship. And so I don't have an expectation, to illustrate my point, that we will always have relationships with, like, for example, with parents. I believe that, especially as you become an adult, right? You can't just tell people what to do. You have to actually become more of, I would say, an advisor, guide type of role. We would seek your perspective and insight on things because you've lived longer. So perhaps you have some lived experience that might benefit me, some wisdom, but you can't tell me what to do anymore. That's a great way to create friction and separate us truly from actually being close.
Yeah.
So it's learning to reevaluate how we approach those types of relationships. And more importantly, when we have things that happen to us when we're young and we realize that it could have been better, or there's some things that I expressed to you that I didn't appreciate that happened, or that happened kind of on your watch, that you can acknowledge that. You don't minimize me, you don't invalidate me, you don't make me feel like I'm crazy or losing my mind, but you can appreciate where I'm coming from, even if you see it differently. And we learn to support each other through that, some of those really uncomfortable, really maybe challenging conversations to deal with.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're describing that things seem like they're maybe on a better path with both of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So I'm very glad to hear that, because I know that doesn't always, in my line of work, I know that doesn't always happen. There's no guarantees. So you got to work at it.